Good morning, everyone.
Good
Good
morning.
morning, Rabbi.
A good Chodesh Tov. We are learning Mishna Yevamos, Perek Tesvav, chapter 15, Mishnah Vav, Mishnah 6. All right. Ha'isha shahalcha hi u'baylam dinas hayam. A woman who went together with her husband to a distant country. Uba va'amra, she came back and said, Meis Baili, my husband died. Tina say she may get remarried. But Tita ksuba, so she could take her ksuba. That's what we've been saying. That's what we've been learning until now. The woman is believed to say her husband died, and she's not only believed to remarry, she can even collect her ksuba. But sarasa asura, but her co-wife is forbidden. That means that even where she has testified to say her husband is dead, and she can actually get married based on that testimony, nonetheless, her co-wife is forbidden. Her co-wife cannot rely on that. And the explanation to that is, as they bring down here on the bottom, the co-wife is suspected of lying in order to ruin her co-wife, even though the first co-wife, meaning the one who testified, is herself getting remarried based on this testimony. We are concerned that she might hate her co-wife so much that she is even willing to ruin herself as long as she also ruins her co-wife. That's how bad things can get sometimes. You'll pull you'll cut your nose to spite your face. At the end of the day, she wants this person down. She'll do it even if she takes herself down with it. Okay? Now, so therefore, the Mishnah says that the woman who testified regarding her husband, she can remarry, but the co-wife cannot. Now, let me just read to you further what they have down here in the notes. Despite this concern, right? Now, if you think about it, right? We're saying that the co-wife cannot believe the co-wife was testifying about their husband's death, because there's a concern that the co-wife, that she's going to want to ruin the co-wife. Okay? But if there is such a concern, how does she get remarried? Meaning, if you have this concern that she is lying to ruin her co-wife, even if it ruins herself, then why do we allow her to remarry the one who testified? So despite this concern, the co-wife who testifies is allowed to remarry, because once the rabbis rule that the court may not permit the second co-wife to remarry based on the first co-wife's testimony, she no longer has a reason to lie. Meaning, once we say that the co-wife can't rely on the first co-wives because of this concern, then there's no reason to think anymore that the one who testified is trying to bring her down, because she can't get married anyway. So she's actually not going to be able to get married anyway. So there's no reason to have to bring her down. Therefore, she is believed to say that her husband died, just as every wife is believed to say so. Okay? However, we cannot allow the second co-wife to get married based on this logic, for that would negate the line of reasoning. But at the end of the day, we're saying like this. A woman we know is generally going to be believed to say that her husband died and to be able to remarry based on that. But here the question is, as a co-wife. And regarding the co-wife, we say the co-wife cannot rely on the wife who testified, because the wife who testified may be trying to ruin the co-wife and mess her up. The woman testifying is herself getting married here. So what do you mean she's going to pull down the other person? And if she pulls down the other person, if she's lying, she's hurting herself. The answer is, well, we have to consider that possibility. Well, if we consider that possibility, then why are we allowing her to get married? The answer is because once we allow her to get married and another one not, then we don't have that concern that she's going to go so far to lie to pull down the other one to hurt herself. Meaning, it's as a result of this halacha that the co-wife cannot rely on the first one for that reason. Therefore, the first one can still marry based on her testimony, which is what the Chachamim gave her, believed her regarding that. And if the point is, well, she wants to get her co-wife, there's no reason to get her co-wife. The co-wife cannot go ahead and remarry anyway. So therefore, the Mishnah says that in this case, she takes her ksuba, the one who testified gets married, and the one who the co-wife does not get married. Now, I just want to point out that yesterday I said something not like this. I was under the assumption yesterday that if she is actually testifying on her behalf, her for herself and being allowed to remarry, that would allow the co-wife to remarry unless the co-wife contradicts, which was the case of yesterday's Mishnah. That is very clear, not that way from here. It still creates some problems from what I understand from the previous Mishnah, but that point is not so. Okay, now, continuing in this case, now this co-wife, who we just said she cannot remarry, because from her perspective, we have to be concerned the husband's still alive. If, let's say, she was married to the kohen, let's say this guy who died, or we don't know if he died, this person who the other wife said died, he was a kohen, which allowed her to eat truma. Okay, so what's her status now? If we're saying that she cannot remarry because the husband, from her perspective, may still be alive, well, what about eating truma? Can she continue eating truma because she's the wife of a kohen? The other one said she's free to go, right? The other one said, my husband died, we believe her, she can get remarried, she's not married to a kohen anymore, she can eat truma. But the other one, who we don't consider that she is, eligible, sure, she couldn't believe the other wife regarding her husband's death. What about her eating truma? Can she continue eating truma? Says the Mishnah, toicha b'truma, the Rebbe Tarfon. She may continue eating truma. These are the words of Rebbe Tarfon. Rebbe Akiva says, Ein zoi derech moitziat b'dei aveira. This way of doing things is not going to take her away from the possibility of sin. Until we say about her that she's forbidden to remarry, the asur melecha b'truma, and she's also forbidden to eat truma. Because according to Rebbe Akiva is saying like this, we have an interesting scenario here. The first wife said the husband died. The second wife can't rely on her. Okay, so now, from the perspective, let's say, of the co-wife who cannot remarry, do we have a doubt here? We at least have a doubt?
No. Yeah.
So that's why Rebbe Akiva says, well, we still have a doubt, and if we have a doubt, then we can't allow her to eat truma either. Interestingly, Reb Tarfon, the first opinion, didn't agree with that. The first opinion said she could eat truma. The fact that we allow the other wife, we consider it enough evidence to allow her to remarry. If we don't allow that testimony for the other wife, then for the other wife, he's still alive. Her status doesn't change. And therefore, she continued eating truma, and the Bartenura says, that's the halacha. The halacha is, even though she cannot remarry, she's still allowed to eat truma.
Until something happens.
Okay. Now, Yesh Aimim are those who say, that in a situation where someone spoke badly about his friend in front of three people. Remember the three people discussion when it comes to Lashon Hara? If you say the Lashon Hara about someone in front of three people? Well, here it's the Rechilas was said in front of three people. Okay? When Levi spoke badly about Shimon, it was in front of three people. Okay? And Reuben was one of those three people. So now, if Reuben is going to tell, what happens, what's now with regarding Rechilas and Reuben telling Shimon what Levi said about him? So some say in that case where it was originally said in front of three people, Su ein by mishum Rechilas. There is no more issue of Rechilas if somebody tells him so-and-so said this about you. V'atamu mishum dehu davar ha'asil eskalos b'seif. V'chabra chaver chisay. V'zeh megala lozeh. V'zeh lozeh. At sheyedeya v'loy osra ter b'zeh mishum Rechilas. Now, the point is, returning to a concept that when you say it in front of three people, it's going to spread. Something that's going to spread is going to go from person to person, and it's eventually going to get back to the person who was spoken about. And therefore, something that's asuya l'skale, something that's eventually going to become revealed and known to the person who was spoken about, there's those who say there's no prohibition of rechilas then. Rak tzarech lazah pratim v'o'arm la'el. But you've got to go through all the different details, fulfill all the different details and halachas mentioned previously about this whole issue of Lashon Hara said in front of three people. However, at the end of the day, the Chofetz Chaim quotes this opinion, but he says, practically speaking, you should not rely on it. At the end of the day, there are Rishonim who argue and say that no, even though it's in front of three people, you cannot go ahead and spread it to other people and say it to other people, and therefore, practically speaking, regarding rechilas here also, if that rechilas, if what someone said, I shouldn't say that rechilas, but the rechilas which is about someone saying, Levi said something about Shimon, it was in front of three people. Practically speaking, you should not rely on the fact that it was in front of three people to now relate the rechilas and tell Shimon what Levi said about him. Have a wonderful day and a good Chodesh. Chodesh Tov.
Thank you, Rabbi. So regarding the co-wife,